All right, we are going to wrap up section 5.2 and end this section talking about complex patterns of inheritance. So we started this chapter talking about Gregor Mendel and his pea plants and how pea plants only had two types of traits. You were either this or you were either that. You either had purple flowers or white flowers, yellow seeds or green seeds, round seeds or wrinkled seeds. And then we transitioned into 5.2 talking about genotypes and phenotypes and alleles, homozygous versus heterozygous. And then we started to talk about tools that we can use in the field of genetics, like pedigrees that show the family history, or even Punnett squares to help predict the outcome between two parents. And so I'm going to end this section talking about complex patterns of inheritance. These are patterns that do not follow Gregor Mendel's dominant over recessive traits. They are, the rules get a little bit bent here. So the first type of complex patterns of inheritance is called incomplete inheritance. And this is when the phenotype of the offspring is a blend of the parent's phenotype. And this is the reason why people thought that in early ideas of genetics, that you are a blend between your parents because they saw this in some flowers. So what that says is if you have a red flower and you cross with a white flower, the offspring are pink. Notice that this new phenotype is a blend of the parent's phenotype. So let's take a look at what's going on with the gametes, the sex cells. So if you are white flowered, you are CW, CW. So if you have two W's, you're going to be white. And this red flower is actually CR, CR. So if you have the two R's, then you are red. And then take a look at the offspring. Okay, pink, CR, CW. So if you have R and W, then you are pink. So then they said, okay, what if you took two pink flowers? Okay, so we have a CR, CW, CR, CW, fill in the Punnett square. All right, so there's the CR, CR, red, RR, red. CR, CW, pink. CR, CW, pink. CW, CW, white. So with two pink flowers, you can see all three types of phenotypes. You can see the original parents, the red and the white, and then you can see the new blend, which is pink. Okay, so the offspring are a blend of the parents' phenotypes. You see this with chickens, okay? Black chicken with blue chicken end up with splash and vice versa. Okay, so just showing the alleles here. If you take if you take a black chicken and cross it with a splash chicken, then you get a blue chicken. So here's the splash allele, BL, BL. There's the black, BL plus, BL plus. And then if you have a BL, BL plus, then it turns out to be blue. Okay, a second type of complex pattern of inheritance is called codominance. And this is when both alleles are observed in the phenotype. So here we have a white horse crossed with a red horse, and the offspring are roan. And if you were to zoom in on the hairs, you would see red hairs and white hairs. So both alleles, both traits, red and white, are seen in the offspring. So here we have cattle, red crossed with white, and you end up with roan cattle. Both alleles are expressed. So sometimes with chickens, you get that white crossed with black, you get speckled. This is the right concept, but it's biologically incorrect. Okay, platypus, they do not come from a cross of a beaver and a duck. Okay, or panda bears are not a mixture of a black bear and a polar bear. Okay, it's the right idea, how both traits appear in the offspring, but it is biologically incorrect. All right, the third type of complex pattern of inheritance is called multiple alleles. And this is when you have more than two alleles for a trait. A very famous example of multiple alleles is ABO blood type in humans. Our blood type is determined by multiple alleles. So there are 4 different types of blood type: A, B, AB, and O. And these are the genotypes. You can see we have lots of different letters. IA, okay, IB, and then just plain little I. And if you are blood type A, there are two genotypes that could make you A. IA, okay, with an I, or you could be homozygous dominant for the A. B, you could be IBI, or you could be homozygous dominant for B. AB, there's only one genotype, IA, IB, and O is two little O's. So I'm actually going to talk about my family here because I think it's kind of cool. I am type A. I know for a fact that my dad is type A because he was in the military and they listed his blood type on the dog tags, and I remember always playing with his dog tags when I was little. So my dad for sure is type A. So I'm just going to go IA, okay, and I'm just going to leave this one blank because I'm going to tell a story about my sister. My sister actually has type O blood, and she donates regularly. So type O is little I. So this is my sister. Okay? So I'm just going to make a note here that this is my sister. So say sis. Okay, she is little I. Well, where do you get your alleles from? Okay, thinking back to like pedigrees. You get them from your parents, right? So one of these little I's came from my dad, and one of these little I's came from my mom. I know for a fact that I am type A, so I can fill in this Punnett square for sure. So there's a 25% chance that, I could be IAI. Maybe I carry the allele for type O blood. This person, for sure, there's a 50% chance that the kids will have type A. All right. But anyways, so I'm just kind of filling in. I don't know my mom's blood type. I'm not very, too close with her. Maybe I should ask her. But I think it's cool that I could figure out that, both my parents had to be carriers for that little I because my sister is type O, and I know I'm type A. So kind of cool. Chinchillas, in their fur color, are also controlled by multiple alleles. You can see we have big C, or C with a CH, C with a CH, C with an H for the Himalayan, and then two little C's. So this big C, if you have the big C, you're for sure probably going to be black. And then these two are kind of, I don't want to say they're less dominant, but little C always gets masked for sure. All right, the fourth type of complex pattern of inheritance is polygenic inheritance. And this is when multiple genes determine the phenotype of a trait. Okay, so what I mean by multiple genes is that many genes interact with each other to create that phenotype. So eye color is actually a polygenic trait. It's not determined by one gene, it's determined by several genes interacting with each other, and that's why we have such a wide variety of eye colors. Skin pigmentation is also controlled by multiple genes, so it's a polygenic example of polygenic inheritance. Even height. Now your genes do interact with the environment, so your environment can affect its phenotype. Flower color and species of hydrangea are determined by the type of soil, whether or not it's acidic or basic. And so if it's acidic, I don't know what color it might be, but it might be one color versus another. Lifestyle choices can also affect a person's phenotype. They've done case studies where identical twins were separated at birth, and one was placed in a very nice live-in condition, had all the food that they wanted, nutrition, and another one was placed in a not-so-great area, and then they compared them 18 years later, and they just looked completely different. One was taller, one was shorter, and so your lifestyle choices, whether or not you get enough nutrition or you make good, healthy, smart choices versus non-healthy choices, they can ultimately affect your phenotype. Okay, so that does it for complex patterns of inheritance.